that up in here or something. Just a lot of down trees.
Well, and you have to think all these smaller trees that are in this area didn't exist during the mine camp. These are all new trees. So the foundation over there for one of the bunk houses, it's got trees growing out of it now because it's been gone for that long. And same with the old blacksmith shop over there. All right.
Is there actually a building over there?
No.
Oh.
No, it's collapsed. It's gone. Just sheet metal left and some remnants of rotten wood. So this is the camp creepy story.
Is the camera on? It is
Camera's on. So Brandon, Jessica, and I hiked up here, and I was hauling a heavy pack, so we couldn't make it all the way to the lake. We were all just too tired. And so this is where we camped. And we had our tent set up right in this little opening here where that burnt log is. And we had a fire going. So we had all that, you know, normal camp. So this was where we cooked up our mountain house meals, and we went to bed maybe around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So it was dark out when we finally went to bed, and I just kind of sat here watching the stars, and then I turned in. Of course, I'm older, so now I sleep on a cot. So I had my little ultralight cot and small sleeping bag on top of it. I was too hot sitting on just that thing. If I'm on the ground, you're cold, but on that thing, you're doing good. But anyway, so somewhere around 11 o'clock at night, it's kind of windy. You know, there's a lot of trees around. There's none that really rub up against each other, but you know, in the wind, trees will creak and make noises. Well, there was a noise that started happening around 11 o'clock at night. And at first, you know, I'm trying to hear what this noise is through the tent, through the wind. And so it was far enough away that it was hard to hear, but I could hear it pretty well. I knew which direction. It was actually in that direction towards the old blacksmith shop there, but beyond it. So it was beyond the blacksmith shop and kind of back in the trees maybe, or up the hill a little bit. Not sure exactly the location because I was inside the tent and noise kind of bounces around a bit. And at no point when I was outside of the tent did I ever hear the noise again. So this is how it goes. I'm laying there and I hear a high-pitched screech and a whack. And over and over again, the exact same distance between the screech and whack, always in that order: screech, whack, and never any deviation from the time of the screech to the time of the whack. Was always the same, and never a whack first and then a screech. It was always screech, whack. And so the best example of the screech that I could come up with is my little rape whistle here built into the pack. That's right, because you never know when you're going to get raped by Sasquatch.
That's right. That's the first thing I was thinking.
So it was a very similar. It might take
nobody would believe you.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I always carry a gun. So this might take me a couple times to mimic the screech just right, but I'll try to give it a shot here. Something similar to
Really high-pitched screech.
where it would start out high pitch and then drop down. But it was louder than that. Yeah, I don't know. So it's hard to mimic that, and you have to, because this is really a loud whistle if I blow into it hard, and so my ears start ringing. So I'm trying not to blow into it hard.
People think somebody's getting raped.
Well, you can't hear it though. Once you're about 100 yards down the trail, you can't hear it.
So it's pointless.
To some degree, yeah. Somebody has to be close by to actually hear that. Now, if I really blow into it loud, they might be able to hear it across the way, but because you can hear voices, so you would think, okay, I should be able to hear a whistle, but no, it just doesn't carry the same as some vocals do. So it was a high-pitched screech that would then drop down in tone a little bit, like, you know, that. But the nearest sound to the whacking would be a branch against a dead tree, something like this.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit deeper tone than that. That was a higher pitched tone. So it'd be a screech and then a long pause. Screech, just like that,
Like something good.
over and over and over again.
Something was trying to ward you off.
Maybe. So that's the noise that we heard over and over and over again. Screech, whack, just like that. I think the closer sound is a log that's laying down. It's a little lower tone than one that's standing upright, because that's a higher pitch when it stands upright for some reason. But so similar to that whistle, screech, similar to that whack, whack sound, over and over again. So this happened about 5 or 6 times, and I heard Jessica rolling over in her sleeping bag, and so I figured, oh, maybe she's awake. And so I said, Jessica, is that you making that noise? And she said, no, but I hear it too. And so, okay, now it confirms I'm actually hearing it. I'm not making it up. It's not just because I'm tired. So now we've got 2 people hearing it. And so then I hear it again, screech, whack. Okay, so I grab my pistol. I grab a flashlight, which is actually this flashlight on this pistol and this flashlight. So I'm taking my flashlight and I'm shining it all through the woods and looking around, and of course all the trees up close, they blind you back because, you know, it's dark out, and this blinding light up close is blinding you back. But of course this flashlight only casts maybe a couple 100 feet to where it'll illuminate something. So I'm only able to cast the light as far as that blacksmith shop. And so I'm looking around, I'm looking up the hill, looking all around, looking up in the trees, because it's still windy and the trees are still moving. At no point when I was outside that tent did that noise happen again. So I'm looking around, and at the time I didn't know that the abandoned mine was that direction too. And there's actually an old trail that goes up there, which I later discovered. But that was how they went to work from this camp, was they would gather their stuff and go up that trail to go mining. And so there used to be an old mining cart up there. Somebody stole it recently, over the last 10 years.
Really?
Yep, they actually went through the effort of hauling this 500-pound mine cart down the trail in the middle of winter. So they probably put it on a sled, and hauled it down. So they hauled the wheelbase down separately from the actual cart, and then hauled it down in pieces that way. And so they made it partially down with the actual cart portion of it, the container portion, I should say. So they made it partially down and then ditched it off the side of the trail, and then they got that the next year. But anyway, so I'm looking at the noise came in that direction, from that direction, screech, whack. And so I stood out here for probably about 10-15 minutes just looking around, trying to hear that noise again, and nothing. And so, all right, obviously whatever it is gone, not making that noise again. So I turn off my light, and I'm standing there in the dark now for a while. Nothing. Just waiting. Nothing. All right, so I turn back into the tent, and I quietly zip it shut, knowing that, okay, anything at a distance won't be able to hear the zip or unzip because it's windy out, and so that kind of masks a lot of the noise. And so you can't hear a lot of that stuff. Now, if they were close enough, they could probably still hear it, but so I don't know how far away this noise was being emitted from, or what the noise was caused from. It's nothing natural. It wasn't like a tree rubbing against another tree causing a screech, whack. So it wasn't, and of course the the consistency of that noise, the screech to the whack consistency, the timing always remaining the same, never deviating from that, is very odd. And so you would say man-made of some sort, or, you know, not naturally made. And so I turned back in.
Was it a really loud screech?
It was loud enough that I could hear it inside the tent over the wind.
Does it sound close?
The distance is hard to judge. I know it was in that direction. I don't know how far in that direction. And if we start walking that direction, it quickly starts going uphill. And so it could be somewhere from that hill. To get to that spot without going through this camp is very difficult. So you have to push through a lot of brush. So you're bushwhacking up there. There's no easy trail going from this trailhead, or from this trail to that location without making a lot of brush noise pushing through there. So if you're a person trying to walk into that location, the next easiest way is to go all the way up to the mine and down the rock screed going down, which has a lot of brush in it too, and it's very dangerous in the dark.
So likely not a human. But what kind of animal?
No animal makes those noises. I'm leaning more towards the likelihood of human caused, even though that's still highly unlikely for somebody to come in to mess with you in the middle of the night, which means somebody's either coming up this trail in the middle of the night and quietly sneaking past, knowing that there's a tent here. And you can usually hear
But do people like really hike at night?
I do, but I'm kind of weird. So I'll hike in the dark. Not a lot of people do.
Yeah,
it's very rare. So
dangerous.
now you've got a rare situation followed by another rare situation, followed by another rare situation, and then having to add in stealth on top of that, because they don't know there's a tent here until they're able to see the tent here. And so you don't know that until you're almost on top of it. So now you have to be quiet before you know you're supposed to be quiet, just to mess with somebody. And this isn't... You hear the rocks back there? It'd be to your right. Your hood's on. So there's a deer probably coming down that mountainside. So it's pretty steep back there. So again, this is about the volume of... It was a little windier than this, so it's a little louder of wind. I hear a woodpecker. But, so it's difficult for something to come down this hill. There's no trails back there. It's difficult for somebody to come from this trail and get back over there without making noise.
Really, and it's so far out here. Who would spend the time to do that?
And the distance from here to the lake where people actually camp is far enough that, and dangerous enough in the dark, that you wouldn't want to do that, more likely than not. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, because it's highly possible and highly more probable, I would think, in my mind, without additional evidence supporting something else. So anyway, I turn back into the tent and lay down, and I'm laying there for a bit, just still listening. And I hear one more screech, whack. Just one last one. And for the rest of the night, I didn't hear any more. And now I'm on edge. You know, I'm alert and listening for another one, because I was going to hop back out if I keep on hearing more. But I was going to try and sneak back out a little quieter than last time, and then no flashlight until I hear another screech, whack, and then maybe pop around that direction. But I didn't want to waste ammo either, because I've got 16 rounds in the pistol, another magazine with 16 rounds, so I've got 32 rounds. Brandon had the 357 Magnum, which only had 6, and that was it. I think maybe we did bring another 6 rounds for that one too.
That
but
seems like plenty.
I didn't want to waste any.
Well, I mean, that- if
but because you
anything-
don't know what you're going to be encountering. So if you've got a charging bear, you're going to waste a whole magazine on that damn thing.
That's true. But a warning shot, I mean, that would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could strategically place a warning shot safely to where even if somebody was fucking with us, I could say, okay, it's probably not going to kill them. Even though if somebody's doing that, maybe they're nefarious enough to keep doing something worse.
Yeah.
So maybe it wouldn't be that bad of an idea. But yeah, at any rate, I was thinking the same thing. I was in that mindset of, is it worth wasting that round? Because I'm limited, you know, for me, less than 100 rounds, I'm limited on ammo. So that's my mindset. You know, what if a pack of wolves comes running through and I have to start popping rounds off at this pack of wolves? Well,
And it's happened to people with boars,
absolutely.
like wild boars. They like a whole pack of them, you can't
Yeah.
shoot them fast enough.
yeah, and they're too fast, so you miss often. So now you're wasting ammo.
And they're not stopping. The warning shots aren't slowing
No,
down.
they don't care about noise. Yeah, they just keep powering through. So for the rest of the night, I didn't hear any more of it. Now, months later, Jessica, I was talking about the story to somebody else, and Jessica just so happened to walk in during story time on that one, and she said, well, actually, throughout the night, I thought I heard footsteps, like somebody walking around our tent, and then again in the morning, somebody walking around our tent.
Dude, that's Bigfoot.
And so I'm like, well, how come you didn't wake me up, damn it? But
Yeah.
and I thought I was being pretty alert where little noises were waking me up, and I heard some squirrels walking around our tent, so maybe that's what she heard. And again, I go by probabilities, you know, so I would think maybe she heard the squirrel and its rustling around was loud enough that it woke me up, and maybe that's what she was hearing. But yeah, the squirrels are all over the place. There's ground squirrels all over here, and not a lot of pika in this area, but they're over there. Tons of pika over there. I don't know if the pika ever come this direction. But it's a similar screech to a pika too, but not the same. It's just somewhat similar, different tone, where it's that high-pitched screech. But at the end of that screech, it drops down in tone. So it was a high pitch to drop down in tone, and then that whack that was a little bit lower pitched than what that branch against the tree was. But and I bet you if I hit this tree, I could probably mimic that whack better. But and of course it's ingrained. I still remember it fairly clearly now, and I'm sure another 10 years from now I probably forget the details a little more. But so Jess did hear some commotion around the tent at some point in the night and then in the morning. But so that's the story of Camp Creepy.